The waiting hall carved itself around the furniture, like the gaping maw of a python mid-strike. Chandelier fangs curved away from the ceiling, dripping with insidious light. Even with every bulb gleaming like freshly polished boots, the room was still somehow darker than it should have been. Darker than felt normal. Diana tapped her bleeding sunset-colored boots rhythmically as she waited to be called into the meeting chamber. The plush carpet absorbed the impact of her foot, creating a wave of soundlessness that collided with her thought. This has to work. But it didn't really. That was the whole game of it. Nothing ever has to happen, and certainly not in any particular way. We want, we calculate, we reason, we desire. But in the end, even the gods peer with uncoiled curiosity at which painted face the die would unveil once cast. Wonder Woman? A young lady stuck her head outside of the door, blonde curls spilling theatrically over her shoulders. She smiled as her eyes met those of the princess, then whitened slightly as a soundless wave crashed into her, alight only with the scent of the Themysciran warrior. The woman's body visibly lulled a moment as the wave ran through her, collecting all of her stresses and hesitations and washing them onto the shores of her toes. She had never encountered anyone who smelled like this. Good was an understatement. She didn't smell like anything. It was more like, the young woman considered. It was like she had never smelled, and Diana brought that sense to life, unwrapping it and hanging it in the sky simply by her presence. The young woman gulped the delicious scent in again, before speaking, a little bit of awe tilting her voice. Wonder Woman? They will see you now. A hush washed over the Visions Live Hospital Board of Directors as the powerful Amazon swept into the room and took a seat, making unshakable eye contact with each and every one of them as she did. This included the White House representative sitting away in the corner, present to make sure everything was handled according to government code. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for saving the life of a child. This came from a burly-looking man whose sausage fingers flipped through a case file like a breakfast menu during happy hour. The man continued. Diana, Wonder Woman, your feud with the medical industry is well known to us. Your primary contention has centered on the difference between treating people and healing people. According to your statement in the Milestone Gazette at the Dakota City stop on your press tour, you claimed, what is the point of medicine that only medicates? What use are drugs that only soothe, but then keep the user crawling back for more? What do we call that? Substance abuse. The medical industry has legalized substance abuse, creating unwitting drug addicts who can only come to you as a supplier. Diana nodded. I stand by those words. On Themyscira, we don't have medicine. We have potions and mixtures that heal. Or we have nothing. Being medicated serves no use to us. The man nodded as if in understanding. The thing is, Princess, while there has been some success and merit behind your words, there have also been cases where the outcome has not been so positive. Diana blinked. Excuse me? The man closed the file and passed it down the row like a begrudging church offering. My cohorts, the investigative duo of our Medication Integrity Task Force, have uncovered some unfortunate details. The file passed hands like wagered bets before finally coming to rest in the palms of a thin woman in a sharply pressed and tailored suit. Beside her was a behemoth of a man, also neatly dressed, with a long ponytail crawling down his back. A shower of sparks lit their gaze as the woman opened the file, fingers trembling with anticipation. Wonder Woman's eyes narrowed. Felina sat cross-legged in the center of a diamond etched into the floor of her hidden dwelling with the blood of the royal steed's youngest foal. With her vast talents, it had been little more than a flimsy parlor trick to lure the juvenile beast away and disguise its demise as an accident. The knife with which she had relieved the once noble creature of its life shuddered and hummed, not more than 2 feet away from her. Felina was ready for war. Covered in the skin of her sacrifice, carved from the warm body over several hours ago, the only other item in her possession was the Spear of Hidden Knowing. Deep magic engulfed this sacred weapon, leading its wielder to react in what could be perceived as hypertime, as it read the movements of its assailants far quicker than the hands holding it ever could. It was also said that the Spear of Hidden Knowing could extract memories of its victims if plunged into the center of their head before the last breath left their body. She had never before had the opportunity to test out that particular feature and desperately hoped she wouldn't be forced to now. But she would if she had to. Valina took one last look around her before laying the spear at her side and loosing the transportation spell from the back of her throat.
Groth Morinami Besuisu Fatanla.
We have 4 counts of adults who wound up sicker after your so-called healing, 3 counts of elderly fatality, and, the woman paused for dramatic effect, 10 counts of children's deaths. Wonder Woman rocketed to her feet. "What did you just say?" The woman smirked and remained calm. 10 children. After experiencing the alleged miracle of your undocumented, ungovernment-sanctioned, un-American-approved treatment, sharply relapsed to their prior condition and died shortly after.
That's impossible. How did I not know of this?
Perhaps, princess, the woman spoke venomously, you don't pay as much attention as you think you do. Wonder Woman's fists tightened as she seethed inwardly. This was clearly a setup. She just couldn't believe they would stoop so low as to murder kids. The woman stole a triumphant glance at her elephantine partner. The government rep eyed the princess carefully, noticing for the first time just how much strength her tightly clenched arms contained. Then suddenly, before anyone could utter another word, the room exploded in light and fire. The roof caved in, blasting wooden shards everywhere. The entire board was flung across the room. Only Wonder Woman remained standing where she was, eyeing the intruder with narrowed eyes. Valina emerged from the eye of the chaos. "You are done here, Diana. Stand down. I have come to put an end to this madness." Wonder Woman rolled her shoulders, uncoiling herself of all the tension sprung into her in the last 10 minutes. Her Amazonian blood ignited furiously, the soil of her being spontaneously combusting into immutable energy. Combat was in the air. "Valina, what are you doing here?" "I have come to stop you, Diana." Valina walked forward, bodies and furniture cowling and tumbling away before the sheer force of her magical presence. "You have polluted our island. You have betrayed our secrets. You have loved man more than your own sisters, and I have come to bring you in." Diana took the only calming breath she would allow herself. "Did my mother send you?" Valina's eyes glinted. "No." Wonder Woman lunged, and Valina was surprised at just how fast the Amazonian princess actually was. The Spear of Hidden Knowing came to life in her hand, blocking the incoming strike in the nick of time. But Diana was all fury and relentless anguish at the moment. Her fist came in hard and fast. She seemed to be everywhere. Valina did her best to ward off the attacks, but soon her failings betrayed her. She was no warrior. She was a mage. The spear was doing its job, but Valina's body couldn't physically keep up. Diana punched, whirled, kicked, punched again, each blow seeming harder and faster than the last. Her battle cries lanced into Valina's ears, pounding her brain into submission. And then it happened. Valina stumbled, and in slow motion she saw Diana's knuckles come snaking toward the vulnerability. The spear jumped into action, but too late, like a runner after the gunshot. Never before in her natural-born life had Valina experienced pain of that caliber. If not for the ancient magic imbuing her body, her face surely would have shattered under so devastating a blow. Her life flashed before her eyes with each thundering blow the princess dealt her. Bam! Valina recalled the sight of her mother's face as she lay dying in her arms, unable to be healed by her daughter's fledgling gifts. Bam! Suddenly, she was back in the arms of her forbidden lover, the fourth muse, who Hades has stolen back from her and imprisoned in his fiery fortress. Bam! Her mentor, the last mage, dissolving out of this life into the realm of the unknown beyond. Bam! Queen Hippolyta's steely voice telling her there was nothing to be done. Diana yanked the Spear of Hidden Knowing out of the mage's hand and flung it across the room. It quivered and hummed where it stuck, pinning the skinny woman in the perfect suit with the case file to the wall. Her partner's eyes saucered into hers. "Go home, Valina. You are done here." Valina peeled herself off the floor, bruises littering her skin like sidewalk decorations. A tiny rivulet of blood opened up inside her ear. One eye was swollen shut. "I don't think so, princess." She spat the word out angrily. "You see, while you are a warrior, I am sorcery." And then Valina's visage contorted and gnarled into a form that made even Wonder Woman gasp and take a single step back. Magical energies crackled in the air, and an invisible lightning bolt ripped across the room, crashing Diana through the walls of the building and into the open air. She quickly recovered her senses, staring hard as Valina floated into the air, hair sizzling in all directions, with uncorked power. "Diana!" she roared. "You have betrayed your island! You have betrayed the Amazons! You have betrayed yourself! And for that, I sentence you to death!" Wonder Woman snarled, already in motion. "Bring it, witch!" Valina shrieked, unleashing a volley of flame at Themyscira's powerful ambassador. Wonder Woman caught the searing heat on her silver bracelets, refusing to let their battle endanger any human onlookers below. Soaring up into the sky above the witch's brightly glowing eyes, Diana descended with the force and speed of a thunderbolt, heels first. Valina gestured, twitching her fingers through the intricate patterns aligning the universe, and Diana felt her body lock up. It was like she was sheathed in a block of ice. Fire burned in her eyes as she plummeted past the island's mage. Valina cackled as Wonder Woman struggled fiercely to free herself as the ground fastly approached. Finally, with a desperate shout, Diana cried to the heavens, "Hera, give me strength!" With another mighty flex, Diana burst through the power of the spell, righting herself just before smashing to the ground and soared skywards. But Valina was in the depth of her powers now. The air felt thick and heavy. Diana's mind clouded over and she grunted as a bus smashed into her face out of nowhere. Another bolt of red lightning struck her stomach, sending her tumbling into a building. Chunks of fractured concrete began to fall. Fighting off the encroaching feeling of the freezing spell again, Diana dove towards the ground, through the chunks, decimating them to powder, and removed 2 civilians out of the range of the falling debris. "Enough!" Diana removed her tiara and flung it up towards the lethal figure in the air. Valina laughed as she bounced it away from her with a dismissive left-hand slap, frowning at the image of Diana soaring up at her at top speed. Grinning wickedly, Valina summoned the most powerful energetic curse she could in that moment, a wildly chaotic orb of orange and gold energy. "I sentence you to death!" She released the curse. The entire city went dark under the eclipse of magic power descending upon Diana. To Valina's surprise, Wonder Woman soared right past her, magic lasso unfurling, and with a clever flick of both wrists, Valina heard the princess whisper, "Hera, help." One end of the lasso stretched out towards the sky, while the looping end unfurled towards the orb dangerously close to crashing into the earth. The lasso made contact, securing the orb, but what Diana was not prepared for was the burn, feedback from the collision of the all-powerful magic at play. Ah! Heaving mightily, Diana yanked her left hand, and a moment later, her tiara came sailing back, right into the side of Valina's head. At the same time, Wonder Woman tugged with every ounce of her strength, yanking that powerful curse right into Valina herself. Valina's eyes widened. "No!" A massive, soundless wave flooded the city as curse met creator. Searing light scorched Diana's arms, dropping her from the sky. She crashed into the concrete with the force of a renegade comet. She raised her head groggily, seeing the tattered remains of a barely conscious Valina swaying before her. The witch's face was drawn and desolate. Diana blinked. Was that a diamond forming around her? This isn't over, Valina wheezed. "I'm coming back, and when I do, I will take from you your oldest love." Diana winced against the flash of light, whisking the witch away. She had one last, cohesive thought before her face sank into the pavement. darkness claiming her soul. Steve.